Hey, besties. This is That's Just My Opinion with your host, Marlene. Let's get started. Hey, besties. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast, That's Just My Opinion. I haven't been on here in a while, and I'm sorry about that, but we're back to it. And to start off our new season, aka summer season, we have a very special guest that I did announce on the Instagram. So if you do follow us on Instagram, you already know who she is. Today we do have xBValentine on the show. Big,
Yo,
big,
yo.
big shout out. Big just noise, guys. Like this is so I've been following xBValentine for a little bit now, just kind of stalk her on her music and stuff like that. And it wasn't until a couple of what was it, days, weeks ago that I reached out and I was like, girl, let's make a podcast. And she was like, I'll let you know. And I was like, come on. And I just finally convinced her, guys, and she's on here now. For everyone that doesn't know, XB is actually a very big artist that is releasing her album today because this is airing on Friday. And I'll let you guys hear her voice. What's up, XB?
What's going on? I appreciate you to have me here.
Of
We're a
course.
couple of thousand miles away, but it's a privilege to be here.
We are a couple of thousand miles away, but it feels like we're close because we are both Latinas and we're both Texan, and it just,
Yeah.
we're just always close, period.
Yes, ma'am.
XB, what do you do with your life?
Oh man, I do a lot.
What are your like main three things, like hobbies, including
Uh,
music, if you want to put that?
well, yeah, I mean, obviously music. A lot of people don't know. Like, I first fell in love with photography and videography. I was real into like I did photo shoots a lot. I've even choreographed a quinceañera before. A lot of people don't know that about me. I've done a lot of things, but I think anything with the camera, I love editing. So people don't know a lot of the pictures on my Instagram are self timer pictures. Like I have put my camera on a tripod, put self timer, and when my manager's like, we need more content, I'm like, all right, I got you. Say
Bet,
less. Let me.
bet.
At least like we need pictures, new pictures. I'm like, all right, I got you. Say less. Like so I've always had been super just passionate about anything that involved like photography, videography. So I like to edit videos for fun. I've made a lot of my own like mini documentaries that I posted on Instagram. I've done a lot of things just like editing wise. I've shot music videos for other artists before.
Any
But
artists
as
you
far as
know?
I know, they're all local artists from Georgetown. So I don't know if y'all are aware with any of them, but
I mean,
just homies
shout
that I
out,
grew up.
but
But
hey,
yeah, shout
that's
out to
cool.
I mean, Young D was the first person from Georgetown that I ever really got to do a music video for. So shout out to him for letting me do that. He trusted me, so that was cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. I actually had no idea about that. But I feel like it happens a lot in the industry, especially until you find like your calling. Like you'll
Yeah,
start like at a certain point and you need to know what you don't like to be able to know what you do like.
yeah,
So
definitely.
that's really cool. When did you start like with the whole photography thing?
So it's funny because back then there was Tumblr. I don't know if you remember
I
Tumblr. It was a
I
yeah,
was I
it's
was a
like
super big Tumblr girly. Like
I loved it.
I swore that I would, but I love Tumblr. I love Tumblr.
Yeah, and I remember just seeing like I followed a lot of photographers, and this was before I was 15. I remember that everything happened for me at 15. I'm thinking about it, but I was on Tumblr. I was like, man, like these pictures are all so cool. You remember like that, like the whole
Mhm.
swag era was such a
Oh,
big
you
thing. The
so
snapbacks
not
and
the
all that.
YMCMB era, bitch. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Well,
You
and it
got
was
me
funny
Lil Wayne and Drake and Nicki Minaj,
'cause
everyone. Hell yeah.
yeah,
That's
I
so
was
funny. I was just talking about that with I don't remember who it was. I was just talking about that. Where it just like not the Young Money, Cash Money. I was like, that was
it
me.
was,
That was me. That I swore.
yeah, that was an era that a lot of us don't want to talk about, but we
That
all
I
were
really
there.
hope those pictures never come to light.
Oh,
But
fact. Mine are private on Facebook. Like I had the same edits, the little red lines that
nope,
everyone used
nope,
to. But
nope.
it
I
was literally
can't.
yeah. Tumblr definitely inspired me to like go out and buy a camera, and a lot of people also don't know this about me, but I did have a quinceañera. Yes, I wore a dress. I did the whole shebang.
Period.
And I'm grateful though. Not a lot
It's
of
an
Latinos
experience.
get.
It's an
Yeah,
experience. Even though
shout
it
out to my
does
parents.
come, even though it does come from like selling your child to other guys, but the now quinceañera is great. The now's
Yes, of
quinceañera
course.
is great.
No, 100%.
You were gonna
And
say shout out to your parents?
oh yeah, shout out to them for even like
That's
giving me that.
cute.
You know, it was I ain't gonna lie, like my quinceañera was dope. you know,
Period.
yeah,
Period. Hey,
it was
quinceañeras are
super.
expensive, especially in
Yeah.
the United States. Like
Oh yeah.
they're expensive.
It was stressful. My parents were more stressed out than I was the entire
I bet.
experience. Like, and my parents are like, I have two older sisters, so both of my sisters also had a quinceañera. One of them had a sweet
Hmm.
16, but
So your parents were able to manage and like pay for three quinceañeras. How
yeah.
different in age are you guys?
Oh, we're pretty. My oldest sister is 10 years older than me, and
Okay.
then my other sister, that's the middle one, she's 7 years older than me. And then I have
Okay.
a yeah. So we're like, but we're half sisters, so same mom, different dad.
Okay.
Yes, and
So they
then I
were
have a
able to
little
save
brother.
up in between quinceañeras.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And then, my sisters were a little bit more rebellious than I was, so they did go a little bit more all out for me because I wasn't a troublemaker. They were a little
You were good. You were good.
that
That's
was a good.
funny. That's funny as fuck. I actually didn't have a quinceañera. I didn't have a quinceañera. I was one of those girlies that was like, I don't want a quinceañera. I want to go travel Europe.
Mm.
I didn't do either,
Oh,
but
shit.
I didn't have a quinceañera. I had like a party. I did have like a normal like birthday party, and like
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're 15." I'm like, "Yeah." But I didn't do like the full out like quinceañera. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's a really good experience to have.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, it's cool to be able to say, but it was with the quinceañera money that I was able to buy a camera. I used all the money I made, and I've
Mm.
had the same camera since I was 15. It's literally like falling. I was like, I hope I had it on me, but it's like the screen doesn't even work. Like the little LED screens all like just cracked, and then yeah, I have to look through the viewfinder to take pictures all the time.
But it
Yeah,
works. Like the
but
camera
it
works.
doesn't. Yeah, it does. It gets the job done.
What
I
brand
would
is
think
it?
it's a Sony. It's a DSLR, so it's like a bigger camera.
It's
So
always Sony. They
yeah,
got some good shit.
yeah, they can take my
Sony
money
sponsor
whenever.
me.
Thanks. We all need a
Right?
sponsor.
Right? You're like, sponsor me with another camera because I've had this one for 10 years.
Yeah, it's like,
Because
hey, but
shit, you never
they
know.
last though. Like that thing lasted me 11 years. I bought
Yep.
that when I was 15. I'm 26,
And it's still
and
lasting. Like it's
it's
still, you're
still doing
saying it
this.
still works. Like
I refuse to buy a new one until it like completely messes up on me. I was like, I ain't letting it go yet.
that's very Mexican of you. Let me say that. That's very
No, that's
Mexican
facts.
of you. Okay. So we have photographer XB, we have videographer XB, we have musician XB, because I was listening to your other interview with big shout out the Everyday Hip Hop podcast, and they were going over how you don't consider yourself a rapper.
Mhm.
Okay, what do you consider yourself?
Like I said in that interview too, it's like I'm kind of like stuck on what to identify myself as because I feel like
To
I'm
put
not
a
a
label.
singer, but I'm not like this like full-time rapper that I'm always rapping. So I'm like right in the middle. So I don't always say like a melodic rapper. But some
Mhm.
people are like, what does that even mean to people who don't know what a melodic rapper would sound? So like my biggest inspiration was The Weeknd. So I kind of like he's very melodic. If you
Yeah,
listen
he
to
is.
his earlier music, he was very like he always had dope R&B beats that weren't necessarily like the 90s R&B. It was just a little bit more modernized. And the way he would just ride the beats and his cadences, his
Yep.
flow, and I think that's what like kind of gave birth to the style I kind of like learned how to do based off of like listening to his music. So I was like, man, like it's so smooth. But I knew I wanted to be a singer, but I knew I couldn't sing like that. So I was like, let me just like make my voice a little softer and see what I can do.
Okay. So what genre do you consider your music to be?
Damn. I would say like R&B, hip hop kind of like
Okay.
like the both of
Because
them
that's what I was
mixed together.
getting. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. I was gonna
Yeah.
say you're a little bit, R&B artist kind of
Mhm.
situation, because a lot of people that are in the R&B industry, they do something similar to what you're doing. Like
Yeah,
they'll
like
kind of
it's
rap, but
mhm.
it's not necessarily Eminem, but
Yeah, actually.
it's also not Ariana Grande. So
Yeah,
like it's a good mix. And I think that's a really good kind of genre to be in, because you have so much variety.
yeah,
And not only that, but at the end of the day, it is whatever that you want to do. If you want to do whatever kind of
yeah,
fucking music, shit, they're gonna still be there to support. So all
yeah,
power
and
to you, girl.
I appreciate
But
it.
um, okay. Really quickly, just because I just want to get it out of the way. Your name.
Oh
Your
yeah.
name. So your real name
Yes,
is
it's Bianca.
Bianca. So
Yeah.
X Bianca.
Yeah, it doesn't. I know everyone's like, how when they find out my whole name, like my whole name is Bianca Rodriguez. Sounds so Mexican, right? And then they're like, where the hell did XB
Nopal en la frente kind of deal.
come from? Thanks. And so it was funny because, I remember the SoundCloud days. I was trying to upload my first song, and that was the first time I'm hit with, "What's your artist name?" I'm 15, uploading my first song. I have no idea what I'm going to call myself. I can't use my real name. Like it just doesn't make sense. So I started like coming up, little B, Queen B, anything with the letter B because B was my nickname. Like
Mhm.
everyone, my cousins, people at school, everyone called me B. No one said Bianca, so I'm not used to that.
Lil
And
B.
so I was like, little B. I was
Not
like,
little B.
it just didn't make sense. I'm young, but I'm like, nah. And then my birthday's on Valentine's Day.
Mm.
So I kind of try to correlate the B and the Valentine together. So my original artist name was B. Valentine. That was it.
Okay.
And I left it
Which
like
is
that.
still kinda catchy. Which is
Yeah, and
still
like
kinda
I had
catchy.
a
Like, B
little ring to
Valentine
it.
is like, "Okay."
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can work with this, and
Yep.
I kept it for like a year, and then and uh,
I'm always doing some stupid shit on here. And then
it keeps it
yeah,
entertaining.
it's as fuck.
But I at the time I had my Instagram account was like some random. It had nothing to do with my artist name. It was just some random username. So I was trying to change all my social media to be Valentine, and
At
on
what time
Instagram,
was this? Like, how old
this
were you?
was I was 16 or 17. I'm
Oh,
not too sure.
so you've
I'll
had
say
the same Instagram account for, like, 10 years.
since I was a freshman in high school. That was in 2012.
So, yeah, 11
Yep.
years.
I've
So
had it for
everything really happened to you when you were 15, like
literally and I went through it all at 15. Like I went through it all. Honestly.
maybe that's when your Saturn return hit. You know how we were talking about Saturn return? Shit, maybe that's when it hit.
Yeah. I literally always like when I tell people everything, I'm like, everything really did happen at 15. Like I went through such a transitional point in my life at that age. But
That's
yeah.
crazy because you are very, like, young still. So
Mhm.
props to you for being able to manage that, not
Thank you.
only, like, physically with everything that was happening around you, but emotionally, because that's, like, a
Yeah.
lot of pressure for a 15-year-old. Like, "What's your artist name? What's your artist name?" Like, chill, SoundCloud,
No,
chill.
thanks. But if it wasn't for Instagram, I think that's what helped me. So, that's where I was getting at. When I was changing my Instagram handle, it kept saying that B Valentine was taken, like someone else had it. So I was like, fuck. I was like, I need to like figure out how to, I got to come up with something. So I just put the X in front just to like throw in another letter because it was
Mhm.
available, and everyone kept calling me XB Valentine. So I was like, I didn't mean for that, but I was like,
It
"Oh, I
was
kinda
meant to
like it."
be. You
Yeah, and then
didn't
this
mean, but the universe did.
yeah, I was like, "Alright, I'm not mad at it," and everyone now calls me XB for short, which is better because everyone trying to say XB Valentine is just too many words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So everyone just refers to
BV,
me there or BB. That I used to go by that, but I didn't
BV.
really BB was different.
Wait, so I really wanna know who this B Valentine on Instagram is.
It's like some random dude, I think. I haven't checked in years.
You wanna know something funny?
What's up?
B Valentine doesn't exist anymore.
Wow. That's fine. I don't need them no more.
I think that shit's funny. So, okay, so my Instagram is X Lena Costa X. Like that was like my whatever nickname. But I also used the X. So like whenever I heard on the other podcast that you were like, "Well, I just put an X to be able to get the username." I was
And
like,
I'm over here
"Me
thinking your
too."
name is like Selena or something
No.
spelled. I was literally telling because I put your contact name as your like I think it was the personal account you have, right? And
Yeah,
I put the that
the
name
X.
on there as your contact. So it literally says that
Ex Lena
yeah.
Costa. Yeah. So that's I don't think I've ever talked about that nickname on the podcast.
Hmm,
So my
exclusive.
username on Instagram is X Lena Costa X. So whenever I used to live in Mexico, um, my full name is Marlene
Mhm,
Uribe. And then my mom's last name is Acosta. So whenever I used to live in Mexico, we used both last names. So my
mhm,
name was Marlene Uribe Acosta. Like literally, I would use both last names.
mhm.
Um, I exposing my daddy issues. I had a problem with my dad at the time. I was
Mhm.
also like 13, 14, like 13 years old ish,
Gotcha.
something like that. I was in like middle school. I was a child. So I had a beef with my dad and I
Mhm.
was like, I don't want to use your last name. So swear. So I was just like, Uribe is right out. So I was like, my name is Marlene Acosta, but my mom's name is Marlene Acosta. So I was like, I can't have the same name
Mm.
as my mom. So now I was like, you know what? I'm skirting it a little bit because my mom used to call me Marlena. For all the
Mm.
Mexican girlies out there, ew, no, I'm not gonna say it because then they're gonna call me that and I'm not gonna be happy. So whatever. My mom used to call me Marlena, but it was like for a specific reason that I'll tell you later, but I'm not gonna say it on the podcast. I know my annoying ass friends are gonna fucking call me that. So it was Marlena, but then I wasn't gonna be Marlena Acosta. So I took off the A and I was like Marlena Costa. And I was like,
Mm.
doesn't work. So I was like, Lena Costa. That's literally
Mm.
what a lot of people in middle school know me as. Like to this day, people will follow me on Instagram and then they'll be like, dude, I completely forgot this was you because you were under Marlene. I thought because they know me as like a whole nother name,
A
like
whole
which is
different,
like
yeah.
Lena. Yeah. So I guess yeah, that was my first nickname, but I didn't keep it. So I have like two personalities now. That's very
So
Gemini of me actually.
I was gonna ask, so how does it work for females? Because you're technically, I know this doesn't sound funny, but you're technically a junior, right?
Ish,
Isn't that what?
ish, ish. Okay, so that's so funny at you because I've had this conversation with myself before, kind of like, how is this even supposed to work? So my mom is Marlena Costa, but I'm not technically Marlena Costa. So I'm not a
Mm,
junior because I'm Marlene Uribe because I have my dad's last name.
got you. That's right.
So I'm
Okay.
Marlene Uribe, but my mom still like whenever she introduced me to like friends, like
Mhm.
work friends, like new people that she knows, she'll be like, "This is Marlene," and they'll be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, like you," and she's be like, "Yes, that's my junior." Like, so she'll talk about it, but it's not like anyone ever called me junior, like
Gotcha.
ever in the world. Um, but my mom will say it. She'll be like, hey, "It's my junior," and I mean, my mom named me, obviously.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Yeah, my only girl is gonna be named after me." That's very Aquarius of my mother, actually.
I was there. Yeah.
That's very Aquarius of my mother. So I'm technically a junior, but no one really calls me junior.
Got you. I was
So
like, I
now,
always wondered how that worked for females because, like,
yeah,
for guys, like my little brother is a junior, but we never call him junior.
yeah,
We just call him by his first name. Yeah, so.
and I don't know because now that I'm completely off topic, but now that I'm thinking about it, my brother, my middle brother, is a junior, so his name is Luis, and my dad's name is Luis, so they're both like Luis Uribe, Luis Uribe, but
Mm.
him and like his legal documents, it doesn't say junior, even though he's technically Luis the third. Because my grandfather was Luis Uribe, and
Ah,
then my dad was Luis Uribe, and then so he's technically like Luis Uribe the third, but
mm. That's funny. Yeah, because I have a, well,
I
he's
think
not
that's a
related
white
to
people
me.
thing.
Yeah, because my cousin's cousin, he is the third, and they call him Trey. They've never called him by his first name. I think his first name is like Pablo or something. I don't remember, but everyone calls him Trey because he's the third, and he legally changed his name
Oh,
to, yeah, because
tres,
yeah,
Trey.
Tres. So now
Okay.
he changed it legally to Trey because everyone. I never knew that until one time my cousin was like. He's like, he's the third. I was like, you're telling me his real name is not Trey? All this time, I thought that was his name. You're telling me the Trey stands for the
And you're
third?
related to this person and you didn't know
No,
their name?
I'm related to, so it's my cousin's cousin.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
Fine. You get a
not,
pass.
yeah, yeah.
Fine. You get
It's
a
like,
pass.
but
But
I grew up knowing him all my life, I mean, he's a little older than me, but yeah, so when I found that, I was like, oh, I didn't know this.
like mind
Yeah.
blown. Mexicans are something else, dude. Like
Facts.
we truly be on one. But okay, whatever. Going back to what we were saying. Um XB Valentine. Okay. So do you prefer people to call you XB or like who even calls you Bianca?
Nobody, literally nobody. People who probably have known me since a kid, like people who like my parents' friends that have known me since I was little,
Yeah.
but no one else. Like my parents don't call me that. They have their own nickname for me. My friends all call me B, and the people who know me in the music industry all call me
XB.
XP. Yeah.
Period.
but no one calls me Bianca. And if they do, I look at them like, why are you calling me that? Like, that is not my
You're like, "That's
name.
not you're not allowed. You're not allowed to call
Yeah.
me that."
But
That's
my friends like kind of joke around. Like I have this one friend that she's like, "You're like our real life Hannah Montana." She's like, "When you're with us, she's like, you're Bianca," and she's like, "But when you're like with like in the music scene, she's like, you're
mhm.
XB." And they said
When
like,
you're at work,
when-
you're XB.
yeah,
Hey, that is, like, really Hannah Montana, actually.
no, it 100% feels like, 'cause I'm a whole housewife when I'm not doing music industry stuff.
Period.
I'd be
Period.
vacuuming, sweeping, washing dishes, doing laundry. Like, yeah, I'd be doing the whole thing.
You're funny. You're funny as fuck. Not a whole housewife. Okay. A question just came into my head. If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
I just know I'd be doing something that involved like anything entertainment, like whether I'd be directing
Okay.
music videos or doing photo shoots or just being very hands on with like just anything that involves a presence in the entertainment world. I
Okay.
just,
Okay, so
you know, I think,
you would still wanna be part of the entertainment industry.
yeah, I think I really would. I think that's just my niche. Like, I think something I just, I don't know, it like it gravitated
Your
towards
passion. It's your
me.
passion. It's
Yeah.
your passion. That's at the end of the day, I feel like that's what it falls under. It is your passion. Um, the most asked question, because I did go ahead and post about this interview on
Mhm.
Instagram, which I don't usually do. I it's so funny because I usually like to keep everything like kind of private.
Yeah.
And then once everything is set and, like, I have everything ready, I'll be like, "Guess what, guys? I talked to this person," and, like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why. I don't know if it's, like, the bad energy that sometimes I feel
No,
like
100%.
people
I
bring
think I have the
around
same
or
mindset because people do say like when you say you're going to do something before you do it, you're almost like putting it out to the
you're
universe before it
jinxing it.
happens. Yeah, and I've learned that the hard way. I
Yeah,
definitely used to do that.
I don't even think I've had, like or unless I just don't wanna remember it, but I don't think I've had, like, a negative experience with sharing it before, but I am definitely very, like, "Nah," like, "I'm not gonna talk about it. I don't wanna jinx it. I don't wanna for whatever reason, it just goes south and it just doesn't work out." So, today that we did do that, fingers crossed nothing happens, but, I did get some questions. So, mostly the questions are how you started, why you started, and where do you feel like you're gonna go? So, one of the first one was, what was one of the reasons that you started creating music? Now, I know that you've mentioned your cousin before,
Mhm,
which you're not very, you're very public about on your Instagram that he was the
mhm.
one that inspired you to do what you do now. Big shout out to him. I know he's watching you, and that's very, very special. Is there any other reason why you started creating music besides your cousin?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the story I always refer to because he's the first person to ever really tell me to like take it more serious. But before
That
that, I
inspired you
was,
pretty much.
before that, I've always struggled. I think this is the Aquarius in me, but I've always struggled to like kind of talk to people about how I felt or like what was going on inside my head. And growing up, I was very to myself and I didn't really know how to like express the things I was feeling. And when I discovered music, it was like very effortless for me to like finally put on paper, like, oh wow, like this is
Your
what's going
thoughts.
on inside my head. Like, geez. And I started doing it so much that it made me feel better every time I do it. And I mentioned this a lot in some interviews. Like I was put in therapy pretty young. I was diagnosed with a few mental illnesses when I was 15, and a lot of that is what made me the person I am today. I
Yeah.
always, as a kid, you kind of complain like, why are my parents putting me in therapy? But as an adult, I am so grateful because now, like, a lot of my friends come to me for advice now because I've been seeing a professional since I was a
Yeah.
kid. Like, so I kind of have a good idea how to process things better. But it was really just my outlet. It was a easy way for me to vent, and I just fell in love with it. And it was just something I needed to do. It wasn't even something I wanted to do. It was
It
weird.
was
Like,
your way of expressing yourself. So,
yeah,
at what age did you write your first song?
15.
I'm telling you, everything happened at 15.
Yeah, it was like a full-on song. Yeah, I was a freshman in high school, I remember, because I had just became friends with this two guys. His name was Mikey, and he was the only person I've ever met that had like recording equipment. Like you don't really hear about people having that at their house, like especially that
Especially not
young.
as a teenager.
Yeah, so he was like, "Yeah, I record my homies." I was like, "All right, let's do it." So he helped me
Period.
record, and that's when I was like, "I want to get in the real studio and do this one day." And I did it maybe like 3 months after that. And so yeah, it just
Okay,
kind of all happened.
so you started this whole music journey when you were 15.
Yep,
Like
that
that's when
was.
you like started, because some people are aware, like they're
Mhm,
like, I want to be an artist when I grow up, but then
mhm.
they don't really pursue it until later in their life. So you knew, like,
I and it's funny because like all my friends now like we joke around about it because when I was in high school I used to tell them I can't wait to graduate and just do music full time. Like I mean there was obviously times I was pursuing to go to college and I wanted to be a psychologist and then I discovered that I'm too much of an empath. I can't like I take that shit home with me and cry about other people's problems. Like I can't handle this. Like this
yeah.
is not for me. But then I kind of just always felt like I was meant for more than what the norm was. I don't know. There was just something in me that was like, nah, like I can't limit myself to this. Like there's just so much more out there that I can do. And I just always felt it. It's like in my gut, and I always feel it every day. I wake up with this feeling like I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But people don't realize like it's like, obviously if your parents, they want you to be doctors, lawyers, whatnot. And, I used to be very self-conscious of the fact that like everyone around me is like going to college, but yeah, here I am pursuing this career that's a lot of people think it's crazy to go all out for it. But, my girl actually put this in perspective for me one time. Because, there are moments I get discouraged, when things don't move as quickly as you want them to. And you've been doing this for 10 plus years. Like, oh my God, like just need this to happen already.
Mm-hmm.
But she one time she was like, "You realize like what you're doing is the same thing as doctors." She's like, "Doctors go to school for sometimes 10 years and they spend those 10 years spending more money than they make. And then they still go have to, do the residency and like they're doing all these steps to finally become a doctor and finally start making the amount of money that, they're working
Yep.
to make." And she's like, and then they're spending the next like 5, 10 years paying off their debts. So she's like, the career that you chose might not be ideal to some, but it's very similar to the route these other doctors, all these other professions technically go through the same process. The only
Yep.
difference is there's a guaranteed degree at the end if you keep going, right? But it's the same
Mm-hmm.
music industry. Like it might not guarantee anything, but if you keep going, you're more than likely to see what you can get out of it. And that's kind of like helped me like, oh damn, this is
Do
just
you,
my
yep. Yeah, no. And I think that every single thing that you just said is so accurate. And I had never specifically seen it in that way. So shout out to your girl. Um, because it's true. Like you do have to go through quote unquote school to be able to know and prepare yourself for what you are supposed to be doing later in your life, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, do you know who Russ is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, have you read his book before?
Yes, I
You're
have.
literally telling me everything that's in that book.
Yep. Yeah,
And that's so funny because I always talk about that book. I
that book
always
is
talk about
amazing.
that book. I always talk about, and for everyone that's a new listener, because I know my old listeners they're probably like, yes, Marlene, we know you always fucking talk about Russ. I was obsessed with him for a very big part of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I love
And
them.
I love the fact that, because I know a lot of people just don't like him because he's like a little bit of a dick, and I understand
Yeah,
it.
he's just full of himself.
It's so full of himself. But you see, he talks about this in his
Mhm.
book. Like he talks
Yeah.
about how he doesn't understand why people would want to humble him to make
Mhm.
other people feel more comfortable around his energy,
Mhm.
when the people that are meant to be around his energy will not feel threatened by the fact that
Facts.
he is absolutely obsessed with himself.
Yeah.
And I think that is so cool. Like I think that's a very different way to see it, because especially coming from such a Hispanic household, like we have always been told to, regardless of what you do in life, remember to be humble.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying don't be humble, because I consider myself to be someone that is very open to all types of people.
Mhm.
Because I feel like that at the end of the day, that's what it comes to. Like,
Yeah.
like don't disrespect people that are maybe not making as much money as you are. That's the whole point. Like, obviously, always be respectful with everyone around you,
Yeah.
but there's no need to dim your light to make other people feel comfortable, because
Facts.
that's not the point. Like, why are you supposed to change the person you are just because you can hang out with other people? Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me. And in that book, he also talks about how you are supposed to be your biggest fan, which you
Mhm.
clearly are.
Yeah, you got
Love,
to,
love.
like, yeah, because I remember, this, like, when I've been doing music since I was 15, so, and a lot of kids at school knew that, and I would post it on my Facebook, but there was a different reaction I'd get back then than I do now. Like,
Of course.
back then, kids would make fun of me. They're like, "Oh, you're just trying to be a rapper." Like, they would make jokes. I'd be in class and be like, "Oh, you're the rapper, huh?" Or like, I remember one time, like, I was reading, like, I was really shy. Like, if you put me in front of the class, I'm not gonna make eye contact with nobody, which is super ironic because I'd be performing in front of thousands of people.
Hmm.
But I would never understand how my brain, like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. But so I
But
remember
it's
reading,
okay. But it's okay. Like,
yeah,
like being in front of a class was just not where
Mhm.
you were supposed to be. Being in front of a crowd is where you're supposed to be, which is why you feel more
That's
comfortable
facts.
there. Like,
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, there you
it
go.
just
Okay.
always comes, like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand why we feel uncomfortable in certain situations, like even with kids. I
Hmm.
don't have any kids, but I'm very into the soft parenting and, like, just,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah,
respectful parenting is what it's called. It's
yeah.
not soft, it's respectful parenting. And we always talk to kids about, like, come on, why are you being shy? Come here,
Mhm.
say hi. Like, if you don't feel like you want to be with this person, maybe they shouldn't be with this person. Maybe they shouldn't
Mhm.
be saying hi to these people. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay to be shy, and it's okay to, like, want to try again later. And, like, what's the whole
Yeah.
point of just making yourself feel uncomfortable besides the fact that you should get out of your comfort zone, which I understand, but sometimes you're not meant to be in certain places, and that's why you don't feel like you should be there.
Yeah. Facts.
And, that's on period. But whatever. Going back to the whole Russ thing. Um, that's where I got. So you said you listened to the last episode of That's Just My Opinion. So our last episode was Delulu for Life, which
Yeah.
just pretty much talks about being delusional about where you're supposed to be in life. And
Mhm.
I can very safely say you're a Delulu girly too, because
Yeah, hell
you've been out
yeah.
here
I
for
mean,
10
you have
years, girl,
to.
being delusional. Like,
You
and
have to.
you have got into certain situations in your life where, because I've heard this the last episode, that it was kind of worth it for you. Like,
Mhm.
you met Chris Perez, which
Mhm.
in our Latin community is like,
Yep.
you met Chris Perez. Like, whenever I heard that on that podcast, I was like, I'm gonna talk to someone that knows Chris. Like, I swear, like, it's just it's in my brain. I can't run from it. Like, I just have a
Yeah.
love for Chris Perez and his long hair. Like, it's just a thing. And I don't think baby XB, right? Teenage XB would have thought you would have made it like this. Shit,
Oh
I'm pretty sure
no.
your high school peeps are like, yeah, I should have supported her back then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I
man.
should have.
It's so funny to me, like, and I don't really like think about it too much, but it wasn't until this like Paul Wall thing kind of like took off, because Paul Wall did, like, we did a video where he's saying he was born in Georgetown,
Hmm.
and I'm still, like, I currently still reside in Georgetown, so everyone I went to high school with still lives here. Like, a lot of us don't really leave
You're
because
like,
Austin's like 30 minutes away. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And man,
you
all
pretty
the
much live
people,
in the city.
yeah, and everyone was like sharing it, like, oh, like, look at XB. And then I was starting to notice, I was like, some of y'all were commenting on my stuff back then, telling me some different shit that y'all are telling me now. And I don't say nothing. I was just like, I'm like, thank you, for
Hmm.
showing love.
Of course.
And I have like this thing, and it's funny because I think it was like in 2015, I made this Facebook status. I was like, be careful who you hate on now because someday you might become a fan. And I shared it. And I was like,
You're
someone
like,
who commented on this is now showing me love now to this day. And it's crazy to me. And it's so wild how, like, people will pretend like they never said negative things to you or doubted you. But I remember everybody. Like, my brain is like, y'all are the ones that told me I wasn't gonna do it. And I held on to those words back then more than anything. Like, now it's easy for me to just brush off, like, it's
yeah,
whatever. Like, I know where I stand and I know what I'm capable of. But back
you
then,
know who you are. Like,
yeah. And back
period.
then,
You've
you're
gotten to
still
a point
figuring
where you
yourself
know.
out.
Hmm.
Yeah. And But it's just crazy to see it come full circle. I'm like, man, I know some of y'all were saying some other shit, but y'all are online acting like, oh yeah, like HB doing her thing. She put it on for George. I was like, bro, I see through it. But you know what?
You're
I'm
like, you know
just.
what? Say it with your chest, Big Daddy. Say it. Fucking say it with your chest because I know you didn't feel like that. And that's actually very Aquarius of you to remember.
Hell yeah, man! I
I
remember
know
that
we
shit.
always talk about that, but um that's that's way too funny. I don't even think I pay attention like that.
Mhm.
But there's always going to be haters, and I feel like that's something that everyone is aware, especially in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, it comes with the
Just
territory.
exactly. Like como dice Benito, the haters were meant to be there. Like that was my plan for y'all to hate on me.
Facts.
Hello. Well, I'm very glad that you are over that part. And honestly, I feel like you're just so beyond that. Like, okay, little hater, that's fine. And then also, they were like 15-year-olds. So, like,
Yeah, I was like, I mean, what were
we
you
can't
doing? We
really
were
hold
doing the same shit.
accountable yes, exactly. What
Yeah,
people said when they were fucking like 10 years ago. But
yes.
okay. So, another one of the questions that we had was what keeps you disciplined and consistent?
Ooh. It's definitely gonna be my manager more than
And that was from
anything.
my bestie.
I
She
bet.
was like, what keeps you disciplined and consistent?
Yeah, I think my manager, and then honestly, like I think constantly reminding myself where I was. I think that's always like a good reminder for me because every time I get discouraged or I'm like, oh, I can finally chill. I'm like, you know what? Nah, like I still got a long way to go because it's easy. Like, you know, when you start finally like seeing things take off for you and you start seeing things moving, it's easy to get comfortable and be like, all right, I can finally just chill and sit back. But nah, like it's actually the opposite. This is the moment for you to work even harder. And because people don't realize it's not hard to get there, it's hard to stay there. And
Yeah.
that's like something I had to learn was just because, you know, I'm further than I was then doesn't mean I can just stop working just as hard. Like you will work harder the closer you get to the top because the more up here you get,
Because you can
the
fall off.
yeah, the harder the drop, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I just like I'm lucky to have a manager that I do because he don't let me slack off. I promise you
Period.
that. Like, you know, if you follow him on social media, like anyone who knows Smooth knows that man is business oriented. He's a go-getter and having someone like him, yeah, he's never gonna let my foot off the gas. And anytime I do, like he's quick to be like, what's going on? What are you going through? Why aren't you on it? Like why? And then especially when I was trying to finish the album because you know I record everything at home and he lives
Mm-hmm.
in Fort Worth. I live in the Austin area, so we're like 3 hours away from each other. He was blowing up my phone every day. Finish the album, finish the album, finish the album. He's like, finish the album like
Yep.
every day. And I needed that because although there was
Because
days
you
where I'm like,
needed to
oh my
finish the
God,
album.
yes. And you know, and you know, those in the moment I'm like, oh my God, like he won't stop messaging me the same thing. But then again, like I need that. I need someone to tell me, hey, get this done. Otherwise, sometimes it won't. And sometimes I need that push and having him always remind me, like, we got it. We have a goal we're trying to get to. Like every day is another day to take advantage of. And, you know, I'm just blessed to have him in my corner. Like, you know, he's really like that dude on like I feel like a boxer and he's the one on my ringside yelling at me while I'm in the ring. Like, what like,
Your
you know?
coach. Yep.
Yeah,
He's giving you the
exactly.
coach. Yeah, he's like, keep it going. But I feel like a big part of that is also because he truly believes in you. Like he
Oh
knows what
yeah.
you're capable of doing. And it's great to be surrounded by people like that because they remind you that you are capable, that you not only that, but you're worth it.
Yeah. And that makes me feel good coming from him because, you know, like I wasn't fully aware that who he was until after I signed with him. I'm like, oh my God, this dude. Well, for one, I was the first artist that he ever fully managed, like officially.
Mhm.
He has worked with other artists in the past, and he's known to tour routes. Yeah, did I say that right? He routes tours. I said that backwards. So he sets up all the tours for major national acts. So
Okay.
that's how I get on a lot of shows. And you know, I was not aware of anything about him. And now, like one time he sat me down, he's like, I'm gonna let you know right now, like you might have a target on your back because I'm working with you. And I'm like, what does that mean? I was like, what you mean there's a
You're
target
like,
on my
whoa.
back? But he's
You're like,
like,
where?
and I didn't even realize it, but he's like, a lot of artists want him to manage them. And it was in that moment I'm like, whoa, he picked me out of everyone he could have managed. Like, he shows me sometimes the messages he gets, the amount of people that hit him up on a regular basis, and every time he does that, I'm like, man, I feel so lucky. Like,
Reminder.
but it's also just like another reminder, like someone like him took me under his wing, and I didn't even know what I was capable of, but he's constantly reminding me. He's like, when I first met him, I told him my goal was to sell out my own headlining show. That was all, like, that was just where my head was. Like, to me, that's a goal. I want to get there. He's like, I can do that. He's like, that's no problem. We make it happen. And now I'm like, I don't know what more I want. Like, I accomplished that already.
Yeah.
And to him, he's like, he's like, you wanted to accomplish that. I made it happen for you. He's like, now you need to know, you need to think about what's next. What's
You
your
need to
next
dream
accomplishment?
bigger.
And that's what kind of I like sat down. I was like, man, I never got a chance to think that far ahead because I thought it was going to take me years to finally sell
Get
out my
there.
own headlining show. Now he's like, well, my goal for you is to get you signed. This is from I see Grammys for you, and to hear that from someone else, I'm like, someone like him especially. It reminded me, and it like kind of just made it reality for me. Like, yo, this is my life. Like, I'm on the
And
road
and it
right
and it
now.
and it can be done. Like,
Yeah, and it's just crazy to me to think how possible. Like, I've already had people from the recording academy talk to me and be like, it'd be dope to have you a part of what we're doing. I'm like,
you're
hell
like,
yeah, like
"Ee, like I'm kind of
let's
down. Let's do
like
it."
say less. Like,
I mean, that's. I don't think a lot of people understand how reachable things are when you put in the work.
oh yeah,
And this is something that Russ
definitely.
says all the time. He's like, talent is great to have, but hard work outworks talent. Like, you
Hmm.
can be a very talented person, but if you're not putting in the work, it's not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah, facts.
You
I think
can,
that's,
quote unquote, not have the talent, but if you put in the work, you're eventually going to get
oh
past
yeah.
that person that's super talented because you're constantly putting in the work.
Yeah.
And dream big. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, dream big, truly believe it's going to happen, and it's going to happen. Like, being a Delulu girly works. Like, people don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, it works.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe in yourself first for anybody else to believe in you. Like, it's just not going to work if only one person believes in you. Like, if you're not, like, that's the thing about me. Like, I was so obsessed with the idea of being an artist. Like, I just knew I was born to do this. Like, I just knew. And I was like, I got to fulfill that to however I can. And I just knew it's like, almost felt like my body was like itching or burning or something. Cause I just like, there's something in me that's telling me I got to do this. And I feel that every day. And like, when I'm not doing anything like that's, I guess, working towards where I want to be, I get in this slump. Like, I don't mentally, I'm like, nah, like I'm not doing what I'm destined to be doing right now. And
Yeah.
I think that's like
You're
always
calling. You're
just,
calling.
yeah. And I just think, I'm finally in a position where I know I've built a solid foundation. Now I just got to build on top of that foundation and
Yeah.
just,
Keep
see
on
how
going.
much I can. Yeah,
Go
exactly.
higher and higher. That's
That's
pretty
the goal.
much, yep, that's pretty much what it comes down to. Like, if you
Yeah.
believe in yourself and if you're constantly putting in that work and you are open to these opportunities, then you're going to reach the sky. Like, not even the sky is the limit. Like,
Yeah,
out of
facts.
this world kind of situation. And I love that for you. Like, I love the fact that you are able to say and actually believe these things, because a lot of people say it and then they're kind of like, if it ever does happen.
Yeah.
And I love, like, I truly love seeing people knowing what they want to do and just being so sure about, like, I'm going to win a Grammy one day. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to win for people that want to act. I'm going to win an Oscar. And for people that, like, for example, my best friend, she wants to do makeup. And, well, she
Mhm.
does makeup. She's been doing makeup for the past, like, 10 years. And we always talk about the fact that she's like, oh, yeah, whenever I do Meg Stallion's makeup, like, blah,
Hey,
blah. And I'm
yeah,
like,
definitely.
yes, yes, you will.
Yeah.
Or
And
like,
that's the way you need to talk about things because you're gonna
yes.
manifest it.
And
I always
the
say
thing
when.
I just recently ran into a post or like a video that they were talking about manifestation. And they were talking about the difference between manifestation, because a lot of people think that the more you talk about something, the more you're going to manifest it. And truth is, the more you believe it and the more you feel it that it's going to happen, That's how you manifest things. Like, you
Mhm.
truly need to convince your mind and convince not only your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind that you're going to be accomplishing these things.
Mhm.
Once you do that and you truly feel it, the universe is going to be like, period. Here.
Yeah, facts. And
Here
it's
you go.
crazy
Here you go.
because
Obviously,
not
while you're still putting in the work and while you're still
yeah,
making like there's a certain amount of work that we need to put also as, humans on
yeah,
this
100%.
world.
And
But
that is crazy to me too, because like I always like joke around and tell my girls, like, man, I feel like I manifested everything I'm doing now. Because I remember when I was younger, this is a very odd thing I'm admitting, but when I would like shower, it's like that was the one time I would daydream about a lot of things. And I remember being like 12 years old, like showering, and I would dead ass like be like daydreaming about me doing interviews, like basically what we're doing now.
mhm.
And I don't know why that was where my mind would take me. I was always getting interviewed in my head. I was always, for some reason, I must have been somebody in my head at 12 years old to be like, and I was just like, I don't know, it was crazy. I would just think about it so much before I'd go to sleep. I was like always getting interviewed. In my mind, I was going to be this important person. I needed to get interviewed. Like, and I think that's why, like, I'm like, wow. As a kid, like, I felt something and I just knew something like it was just gonna connect at some point. And
Also remember that as kids, you are supposed to be more in tune with your spiritual self. So
mm,
most of the times whenever kids are like, "Oh no, that's not going to happen," or like, "No, this person is here," or like seeing ghosts or like, shit like
yeah.
that, it's usually because as kids you don't have as many blockages as we like grow up. This is in a very spiritual way. So
Yeah.
like as we were talking earlier today, you don't know me, but I'm a very spiritual person and I truly believe in things like this.
Mhm.
Um, like the fact that weirdest shit in the world, because this is very awkward, but I too, at a good 12, 13 years old, in the shower, would also think about shit like that. And like,
That's crazy.
it's so funny because I would like, sueño, right? I would like write these like choruses because
Okay.
I was gonna be in music. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to do something where I wanted to be out, like I wanted to be with people and I wanted to entertain in some type of way. So whenever I was younger, I used to think I was gonna be a vet from Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I was gonna tour the world as an artist. That
Hey.
was my plan. That was my plan. That was my plan. Like I was gonna be a vet from Monday through Friday, take care of dogs, live very Hannah Montana vibes. This was way before Hannah Montana too. I would just, you be your normal local veterinarian, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, I would go tour the world and be a singer, or I would record movies as a actress, either or, whatever happens first. That was me. That was
Yeah.
me. That was me. So whenever I was having these like whenever I'm older and I do blah blah and like this and that, I swore I was making music, swore, and I swore that, oh yeah, whenever I talk to like all these famous people and like and watch me now being a whole ass interviewer, like, and this is something that I truly enjoy. I love to meet new people. I love to be able to talk to them about their dreams and like shit that they've been through and like overcame, and like it truly brings like I'm like period. Like hell
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like it's like I've known you my whole life and I'm so proud at the fact that you were able to overcome all this shit and now you're here. And it's
Yeah.
like, like keep on going kind of
Yeah.
situation. And it has to do a lot with one, the fact that I don't think we limit ourselves as much because we don't have an idea of how cruel the world can be. Cuz in a lot of situations, a lot of artists, they stopped not because they weren't good at it, just because people were mean at them whenever they were trying
Mhm.
to do it, or like they didn't listen to their shit, or they didn't feel like they were worthy of it, or you know be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah,
Like, why do you need to
facts.
shit on someone's art? Like, everything is art at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I always think about this specific thing that you shared on your story not too long ago that I screenshotted. So I can literally ask you about in this specific interview where you were talking about being an independent artist.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I know which one
Right?
you're
Okay. So I
talking
want to get a little bit more into that because I know that's a really big thing in the industry right now. A
Mhm.
lot of people want to get signed by, big record labels and shit like that. And a lot of people on the other side don't really agree that that's a thing that you should be doing,
Yeah.
because they take a big percentage of what
Mhm.
you're getting paid, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what's your opinion on that? We can talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, so that initial post just came from because I do get like a lot of artists that message me every now and then, like, hey, like, I'm just starting up, like, what's some good advice? So I try to like knock it out in one post. So I was like, all right, let me just try to like give as much
Tag
as
them.
advice as, yeah. And and I've I've been doing this for so long, so I've seen what works and what doesn't work. Especially like being doing this, I did it by myself for a good amount of time, and I've had other representation besides the manager I have now.
Yeah.
So, at 15, starting my SoundCloud, you putting my first song out, I got 50 plays. And it was like that for a year until I finally like I kept putting music out. I put out 4 projects on SoundCloud before
Like
I
full
even
albums.
full albums.
Okay.
And they're all I mean, I still have them on there. They're all private though. Some of them you can still hear, some of them you can't. And the first album I put out was in 2013. And then after that, I put out one like every year. And I didn't finally make a Spotify account until I had my first like viral post on Twitter, which was in 2018. It was like my first post like ever really taking off. And it was from that point where I'm starting to kind of learn how to maneuver more so like myself as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I put out a song and I'm still not seeing like the numbers I want. Take note, I'm still doing this by myself. And I was releasing a song like 3 4 months, sometimes 6 months in between releases. I was barely releasing music, but I had a lot of music. I was just didn't know how to put it out, and I was so self-conscious of it. I was overthinking, and there was just so much going into it that I was just limiting myself. I was like
Yeah.
doubting myself. There's just too much negativity going up here. Until I met my manager, he has me clear out my whole Spotify. He's like, take off all your own music. He's like, we're starting over. And this is why a lot of people think I came out of nowhere. Because if you go in my catalog, it doesn't go that far back anymore. But I've been around.
You're like,
And
I've been here.
yeah, I was like, hey, I've been here. Y'all
Okay,
just
so
weren't
what
seeing
happened to
me.
all that music? Do you have it anywhere, or
Yeah,
did
I
you
mean, it's
just
all, I have all the files. Like, I have all the
Okay.
projects, so it's still there. I just, it's just an older version of me. And I was still figuring myself out as an artist. So I think you can hear the potential in the songs, but they weren't quite there yet. So, he's
Yeah.
like, let's just take these
They're
off.
not what you want to represent you now.
Yeah, because I think there were just songs where I'm still trying to just figure myself out. So when we started over, he had this whole like plan for me. We just signed. He's like, all right, I have a year plan. We're gonna release music 2 to 3 weeks. I had so many songs that I never released that I was just sending him, and he would choose. He's like, some of these are really good. He's like, we could actually use these. We'll just drop them. And so the first song we did was No Saint, which is a feature with Cap G. I sent him the song. I originally, I was like, this song was a throwaway. I didn't know what to do with it. He's like, nah, this is what we're going to start off as. We're going to drop this one. Then I think the second song was Vibe With You with Baby Bash. We dropped that one 2 weeks after.
Which
And that
is
one,
a very good song, by
thank
the
you.
way.
Yeah, so that one unintentionally took off on TikTok. That was my first like ever TikTok to like take off. I remember posting it at midnight. I woke up the next morning and it had over like 100K views, and I was like, "What?"
Oh, a
Like I was,
dream.
I
A
was just
dream.
tripping out, and it was just crazy because I wasn't expecting that. And my manager was like, "Just because we dropped this one's doing good, doesn't mean we're just gonna let that one." He's like, "No, we have to keep releasing songs." And at first, I was like, "But we're not letting these releases breathe." So in my mind, I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that." But he's like, "Trust me." So I'm like, "All right, full trust in you, man. Like I'm just gonna do what you say." And I'm glad I did. I have so much faith in him because he just time after time he shows me everything he
I mean,
says, like
because
it
he
just
knows
works.
what he's doing,
Hell
period.
yeah, like
Like,
100%.
it just falls under that. Like, he is very
Yeah.
aware of what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing, and in a way, he's your mentor. So
Yeah, 100%. I definitely have learned so much from him. He's a one of a kind man. Let me just put it that way. There's no one else like
big
Smooth,
shout
man.
out. Big shout out.
Yeah, for real. But not like I think just working with him. I'm no gatekeeper. I'm not gonna keep things to myself just because I don't want anyone else to be successful.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna like. I wish people were telling me these things when I was a kid, like learning. Like, so I'm gonna tell people, like, hey, like, you got songs out there that you're just holding on to and you're not releasing. Like, you can't be seen if you're not putting yourself out there. Like, you have to. And that was something that I struggled with because I'm an introvert. I'm a little more on the shy side. Like I'm just now getting comfortable filming myself saying, like talking to the camera. My manager's like, you need to show people your personality more. I'm like, okay, but this is weird. Like I have to, like it's interesting to me, and like and I watched the older videos I would do like that. I'm like, wow, it was so awkward. Like
Like, yeah.
and I'm still like trying, and this is something like it's definitely out of my comfort zone, like just because I always thought it was really hard for me to like show my personality through a video I'm recording myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It feels forceful almost. So, it took me some time to just like really just be able to be myself. Like the way I'm talking to you is how I'm gonna like go and make a video. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to go make one soon after this interview because my manager's like, I need you to do a video like this of you saying this. And I'm like, bet. It's actually gonna be kind of funny.
Okay, so the stories that you post talking to
Mhm.
yourself, is that
Yeah.
Smooth's idea for you to post on
So
Instagram or what?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, like me and him, and well, so he was like, "I need you to do like just something like kind of like goofy." He's like, I need people to like see your personality more." He's like, "Because when you're around me, like I can see it." He's like, "But no one else does." He's like, "That's how you connect with people, right?" He's like,
Mhm.
"Because it's one thing having music that's relatable, but you can also be a fan of someone based off of who they are. Like you don't even have to like their music. I'm a fan of a lot of people based off who they are. I don't even listen to their music, but I watch interviews. I'm like, I like you. Like I like who you are. I like what you say, but
Yeah.
your music is just not what I'm gonna be listening to. But I fuck with you, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that's just like something he's put installed in my brain. Like you have to give more to your audience. They want to see you as one of them. And it was just funny. He's like, I need you to just, he's like, it's Pride Month. He's like, I need you, because I told him that story.
Let's
Like, I
be
told him, like,
gay.
and he's funny about it too. Like, dudes are just funny. Straight men
Yeah.
are something else.
I really wanna know when his birthday is. I
Oh,
really wanna, like, know this person.
he gives off major Scorpio energy because he's very confident, but
Uh-huh.
I
There's
think
other
he's,
signs that are confident that don't necessarily need to be Scorpios.
you're right, you're right. No, I think he's a
You don't remember
Sagittarius.
his birthday? Wow.
I know, I'm terrible. His birthday was like 2 months ago, I think. Is he a Sagittarius?
Sagittarius
No.
at the end of the year,
Oh,
sweetheart.
they're in
Yeah,
like
no, it's not right
November,
now.
right? Shit. I don't know what he is.
They're early
Oh,
December.
he's a Pisces because he's very, I remember he's a
Like
Pisces
Bad
man.
Bunny!
Because I remember I finally found out when his birthday was and he was a Pisces. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like he's like he gives off a very serious vibe sometimes, very intimidating man.
But super
But
goofy.
I know him
But he's super goofy.
personally. He's goofy and very emotional. I was like, you're
Like Bad
definitely a
Bunny.
Pisces.
Like Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is a whole ass Pisces man,
Oh yeah,
which is why no one ever
completely.
knows who the fuck he's dating and who the fuck he's out here with. Like, he is such a Pisces man.
Yep, that's so
That's so
true.
funny.
It makes sense.
That I love how you're like
I was like,
thinking.
it just
Oh,
like
yes.
clicked in my head. I'm like, wow. He kind of gave off Cancer energy a little bit, but
Yeah,
Pisces
yeah.
makes no sense.
That's funny as shit. Um I completely forgot. You see, this is what happens usually on the podcast. I'll lose
It's
my train of
fine.
thought. Oh, okay. So we were talking about the whole releasing your
Oh
music
yeah, yeah.
more than like actually releasing an album. So Russ does that too.
Yeah, so that's funny because I remember, I did actually.
That's the first time I heard of it. And then I don't know if you know this new artist that I'm actually super obsessed with. That she's super big right now. She's not even considered a new artist anymore. Her name is Young Miko.
Girl, I thought you were about to hit me with Ice Spice or something, but like
No.
Young Miko, that is my spirit animal. I love
I
her.
love Young
I
Miko. I love
I
her so
love
much. I
her.
literally watched her twice when she
I'm
was here in
jealous.
Chicago. I saw her twice. I was like, I'm not missing this bitch.
Oh my God,
Hell nah.
yes. I
I watched
listen
her
to
twice.
her religiously. Like Classy 101 has been my shit. I've been
Literally,
jamming that at the gym like hard. And I just be wanting to
you know
make
which one you should
it.
listen to? Well, whatever. I'll talk about this later. But so she also does that. So
Mhm,
where you said focus on projects till you have solid also focus on projects until you have a solidified fan base. Put singles out till your audience has grown big enough to anticipate your album.
mhm.
The reason why I want to make an emphasize in that is because I think those are very powerful words, not only from someone that is doing it right now, because that's literally what you're doing. I see you. But a lot of artists go with this bass. Bad Bunny was one of them. You would see him on all the trap songs, and he always talks about how he made popular music first and then he made his album. Like what he is like, this is me, which was mostly not trap. Like it was, he had some, whatever. But Young Miko is doing the same thing. She did a lot of features and she did a lot of solos. And then she came out with Trap Kitty. And I see a lot of artists doing this. And I feel like it's something very important to emphasize because it works.
Yeah, definitely. I
Like
mean,
these are two very big Puerto Rican artists that are in the industry now. Like they are the industry. They're revolutionizing the industry pretty much.
facts.
So
Now,
you emphasizing that and noticing that, I think is a very good thing to say. So now you can say what you were going to say. Sorry.
no, sorry, I didn't mean to keep cutting you off. No, I mean, I think that's just like I've learned that the hard way. I mean, I put out so many projects prior to that, and no one was listening to them. Like 200 streams per song on the album, like that's so discouraging when you're working so hard to put together this project where you really want to tell people your story, but it's like, who am I telling this to when there's nobody
Nobody
listening?
listening. Yeah.
And that,
Yet.
and it's
Yet.
yeah, of course. And I think like I mean, I was having to constantly learn like trial and error as I was doing things. So when I finally kind of like, when I started working with my manager, he put everything into perspective for me. He was like, it's cool. You can drop an album if you want. He's like, but like, be real with me. Who's going to listen to it? He's like, you're going to put in all that money, all that work, all that effort into something that's not going to be appreciated the way it can. If you put that, to a hold and you focus on, let's just build a fan base. Like, let's show people who XB is. Like, let's introduce the world to you first. It's like, give them songs to get a feel for who you are. Let them know. Like, let's just like, oh, it's funny. He's literally calling me right now. Oh no, hold on. He just exited me out.
I was like, it's okay. Put him on. Just be like, hey, Smooth. Welcome to my interview.
That man can talk for hours.
I know he has a podcast. Didn't you say
Yeah.
that he has a podcast?
Yeah, and he's super good at it. Like I've gotten to sit like just on the other side of the cameras and just watch him interview people. I'm like, I don't know how he does this. Like he's so, and he doesn't plan anything. He doesn't ever have questions or anything. He's just like, I'm just gonna go in there and ask him stuff. I'm like, dude. But he's a talker. He just knows how to talk to people.
He sounds like my spirit animal.
Yeah, I feel like you guys like will hit it off. Yeah,
he sounds like my spirit animal. That's the type of person.
And he be dropping like gems. He just likes to give people advice about just how to get to where you want to be, type of thing.
And but, at the end of the day, that's where we're trying to be, right?
Facts. Yeah, I couldn't ask for nothing more. But yeah, as far as like dropping projects and stuff, like I would just tell someone, worry about building a fan base and then give them a project. Like, and I've seen that. Like, I've seen the difference. This is the first time I have this many people anticipating an album, and it feels so good. Like, it started getting to a point where people are like, all right, like we get it. You've been dropping singles, like we want a project, and that feels good coming. Like hearing that after going so long with no one caring about what I put out, and it's just like, it's nice. And it kind of made me look forward to it in a way I never got a chance to look forward to any release, really. Because this is just like, I'm genuinely proud of the work I put into this. Like, it's my best work I've done. And like the amount of time I put into it, like it was a year and a half amount of work. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking forward to seeing how people respond to it and how they feel about it. That's always the part that as an artist,
the highlight. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this album a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It releases today because even though we are recording this on Thursday, it is going to be released Friday, or maybe I'll drop it on Thursday.
We'll see what's up.
We'll see.
It technically drops at midnight on Thursday. Technically,
okay.
It'll be on.
Okay, so this album, mm-hmm. you say it took you a year and a half to make. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we heard that you have a couple of features in there. How many songs does it have?
I believe it's 12. Hold on, let me double check. I don't want to give false information,
Yeah, please don't do that.
Yeah, everyone's gonna be like, you said 12, there's only 10. No, there's 11. See, I was wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 songs. Yes.
Now you owe us a song.
Maybe we'll drop a deluxe edition. We'll see what's up. Throw in a couple extras.
With Marlene on it?
Let's do it.
right? With my shower songs or what? At
Hey,
15?
yeah, we can make it work. I got auto tune. You know what I'm saying?
Rude. You think I need auto
Girl,
tune?
I be
I
using it all
got
the time. I
to.
ain't got no shame in my game.
I want to be like T-Pain, TBH. So I'm super down for auto
But you
tune.
know what's crazy is like T Pain doesn't even need it, so it's ironic. That dude sounds better without it. It's trippy. Have you ever heard him sing?
But it's like it's his essence.
Yeah, I
You
mean
get
that's just
it?
like
Like
yeah,
I just feel like it's his thing. Like at the end of the day, artists do with their art whatever the fuck they want to do, right? So
yeah.
he decides
Facts.
to use autotune. That's him. Maybe he just doesn't want normal people to recognize his voice.
True that.
Thought about that.
You're onto something.
It's giving Hannah Montana again. That's like the that's like the subject of this episode.
Facts.
Okay, back to the album.
Sorry, yes.
You said you had some features. Do you want to give a shout out to the people that are on the album?
Yeah, of course. I mean, these are all artists that some of y'all may know. Shout out to D Smoke for one. If y'all don't know who he is, he's actually the one who won the Rhythm and Flow, the show on Netflix. He was the winner for it. So I
Period.
got him on a song. Super, super dope dude. I got to meet him. We flew out to LA to make all that happen. And then also
That's
we
dope.
got West Side Boogie. If y'all don't know
Yeah.
who West Side Boogie is, y'all really need to go check him out. The
Y'all living
dude
under a
is
rock.
for real. The man is phenomenal. Got bars for days. He also just dropped an album not too long ago.
He
I also
did.
got to fly out to LA to meet him. He recorded his verse right in front of me, which was a crazy experience. And then we have Bone Thugs and Harmony, which is actually like one of my favorite songs on the album, just because it has a deeper meaning for me.
Mhm.
I felt like that was just a song that I really like wanted to be able to like pay tribute to my cousin. That was his favorite rap group. So to have us to even be able to say I have a song with Bone Thugs and Harmony is a trip. So I
It's a
know I
dream.
would,
It's a dream come
yeah,
true. It's one of those situations that, like you said before, you just never really imagined would be something you would be going through.
yeah, 100%. So I just think it's really dope to even be able to say I have these artists on my album, and I felt like to have an artist that's currently like still putting out music, and to have an artist or artists that are considered
Plural.
legendary. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a trip to me, because in my eyes I'm like I'm still this like I'm just little old me. So to have these people
15-year-old XB.
not
Yep.
facts, like it's a trip, but it's super dope, and I'm just excited, for everyone to hear the album. Besides the features, I think a lot of people also have like said things about the fact that I have so many collaborations, so I felt like this album is also going to be able to show what I can do by myself, because I have been putting out songs with a lot of artists. Like I had Cap G, Chris Perez, I had Dizzy Wright, I had D Smoke, I've had all these people on my songs. So everyone's like, well, we want to hear what you can do on a whole song. And I felt like I finally was able to provide that to the extent I wanted to. So not only do I have these three artists on my album, but it's a whole lot of me too.
So how many songs on the album are just you?
All of them except for those three. So we got one, two, three,
So
four,
8 of
five.
them.
Right, you're better at math than I
I
am.
mean, just
Yes.
I was like 3, 11. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So eight of them
Okay.
are me all the way through.
So we get a lot of XB.
You get a
A
whole lot of
lot of XB. Okay, well, what's the mood for this album? So how are
oh,
we
you're
feeling? Is it are we partying? Are we a little sad?
we're a
Are
little bit of
we
everything.
okay?
So, I like to think so. For one, the title is Forever and a Day. And the reason why I wanted this name really was to kind of emphasize on what the journey felt like for me. Like it really felt like I've been doing this forever and a day. Like it's just been such a long journey for me. And the whole album is just like in whole, it's a little bit of every emotion I had to feel in the past year and a half. So everything is like different things I've learned, different things I'm feeling, different things I'm going through. So like, the first song is Darkest Days. And my manager was like, we need a song that's a storytelling on this album. Like you want people to really get to know a deeper part of you that you haven't really exposed yet. And Darkest Days is me kind of really laying that all out. Like I'm talking about the things I went through when I was 15, seeing psychiatrists, being on medications. I talk about depression. I talk about PTSD. Like I try to emphasize on who I used to be in that song. And I talk about overcoming it and becoming who I am now. And starting off with that was important for me because I wanted to dive in to the rawest form of who I am. I want people to know, like, whoa, okay, shit, like this girl's been through some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
She said, let's get personal.
yeah, and I think starting and hitting everyone with like just the root of who birth XB was important. I didn't want to like just give y'all the most recent form of me right off the bat. I want to kind of build up to what made me the person I am today. So starting off with Darkest Days, and then the second song is Power, which is a more, I mean, the title is self-explanatory. So going from a song that's talking about the darkest moments of my life to being this super empowering person that I'm trying to be now, because I remember what it was like to be at the very bottom and to be surrounded by this dark cloud and not really knowing how to get myself out of it. And I think those are the moments that like gave me the strength to overcome the things I'm facing as an adult now. So power is just me embracing my strength and really like just going all out with it and taking full advantage of the fact that I'm so much more stronger now and I'm capable of so much more. And I wanted to emphasize on overcoming that. So that's why I felt like Power was just perfect right after that. And then we got More Than This, which is more upbeat. You know, every song is a little different emotion, but I wanted to fit what
Tell a
I'm talking
story.
about. Yeah.
Hmm.
So More Than This is just kind of like, all right, I accepted the fact that I'm strong now. I'm ready for whatever the world and the industry wants to throw at me. So More Than This is me demanding, like, I'm here now, but I still want more. Like I get I'm in this position, but this is still not enough. Like I know I'm destined for more. So I feel like More Than This has to come after
Hmm.
Power. And then we got The Dream, or no, wait, we got Ride For Me. Ride For Me is a song kind of about me like speaking to someone that I'm trying to offer my heart to. It's like I know I'm a little damaged and I'm still learning how to heal from certain things, but I want to know like, are you willing to heal with me? Like, are you like, can you see the potential of who I can be after I'm done healing? Like, are you just down to ride for me? And this is just me telling the significant person, like, I just want you to know, like, I'm down for you, and I'm also aware of myself, but like, I'm trying to ride for you. You
I
trying to
feel like
ride
I'm
for
gonna cry
me?
with this album. I feel like I'm gonna cry.
You
Like I know,
might.
like I know I'm damaged, but please, like it's getting personal.
Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, I'm human. I
Hmm.
like it's not all sunshine and rainbows for me. Like I am a very bubbly person, and like I don't like to. I'm not the type to be moping around, but
Yeah.
I like to make the most out of what's going on in front of me because I know what it's like not to do that. I used to
Hmm.
not be present. I used to not be living in the moment. So I try to learn from all that. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm just trying to emphasize
Yeah.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. And I feel
here.
like it's a lot of people. It's something that not to take away from the journey that you've had, because obviously it is a very important journey that you've been through, but everyone, as we grow up, I feel like people would feel that, like they're gonna be like, wow, like that's true, like, I also went through some shit, but it doesn't mean that it takes away from the person that I am, or like,
Mhm.
situations like that. And having artists that are so real like yourself, it's a really great thing to have, because it's like, okay, she's cool, she's lit, she makes badass music, but she's also human, and she's also down to earth, and she also went through some shit, and it just makes other people maybe feel like maybe I can be her one day. And
Yeah, exactly.
from an LGBTQI plus standpoint, which would be, the next subject once we finish what the album is going to be
Yeah.
from, um it's very important. Like I feel like that's a very important thing for people to relate to.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think that's really what this album, like, that was my goal with this album is just kind of like be able to give, this like project to the audience that they can at least take something from it and make it theirs. Like, as much as the music is still personal, I still try to be mindful of the fact, like, I want the people that are listening to it can be like, like, man, like, you just took the words right out of my mouth. Like, that's
Mhm.
exactly how I felt. And some people don't know how to form the right words. So I like to think that I could help them out just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I always think like not everyone's fortunate enough to have music to express themselves. Some people really just don't know how to do that, and just that hear someone else do it can be comforting to them. Like like they know how I feel. I just couldn't say that myself, but they like man, they got it down to the T. Because I remember hearing certain songs. I'm like, wow, That's how I feel.
that was literally my next question. I was literally gonna ask you if you felt like that with a specific song. Can you
Yeah.
name any of the songs that you felt like that?
Ooh.
I just need one. I just need one.
Die for You by The Weeknd. Yep.
We can come back to that one. Not to give up, I don't want to give up the whole album because I do know that
Yeah.
you did also mention a lot of these songs on one of your other interviews. So y'all go tune into that and look at that and listen to the whole album and you'll know the rest of it, right? We can do a
Yes.
post album launch interview to see
Yeah, let's do
to see how people are feeling it, right?
that. Hell
Okay.
yeah.
One of these very, very, very important questions that I actually wanted to ask you is related to what we mentioned, being in the community. Because you have a girlfriend, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I was I was like, I don't know if y'all are married yet. I was like,
Oh no,
okay,
yeah,
go
not
ahead.
yet.
Okay. So one of the questions was in Latin music, how does it feel to help create a path for
Mm.
LGBTQ artists? And what do you hope other people that maybe in a younger age take from your journey?
Well, really, I'm gonna answer the last part first.
Hmm.
I think with like the younger people, I definitely want. It's always been important for me to be able to be someone they can look at and be like, oh, this person looks like me, and if they can do it, I can do it. That's always been important to me.
Yeah.
I emphasize that on a lot of my interviews just because it's just something I'm always gonna stand by. Like I
That
remember being
you
like,
wish there was.
yeah,
Honestly,
because
I
yeah,
kind of wish there was that whenever I was younger,
yeah,
like
because it would have been more of a comforting thought growing up, knowing like, oh, there's people that look like me that are doing the things I want to. Like I can do it, and I grew up a long time thinking like, there's no one doing this to the extent that I want to do it at, and it was kind of hard to think like, how am I going to be the first to do it like this? And it didn't really start until I was starting to get like young girls asking me for advice as far as like how to come out to their parents. That's when I was like, oh man, like this is I have the responsibility I have here is a little different.
mhm.
But it also made me feel good because it's like I created a safe space for kids to be able to even reach out to begin with. And that alone like is important to me because we need more of that. We need that safe space and to provide to these kids to like feel safe enough to just be real, like to be themselves. And it's a scary thing. It's scary as a kid, it's scary as an adult. Like the fear does not go away no matter how
Nope,
old you
it
are.
doesn't.
Like
It doesn't.
it's all the same.
And
And
it's low key always in the back of your head too. Like even when you're like
yeah.
openly out, like,
Oh
yourself,
yeah.
like I feel like it's always just in the back of your head. Like, are they being mean to me because I'm gay? Or are they staying at me because I'm with my girlfriend? Or are they like it's something
Yeah.
that really doesn't go away. And
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of people understand that, especially living in such a red state like Texas. Like
Hmm.
I live in Chicago right now and everyone's gay here. But
Must be nice.
um but living in a red state where like everyone can do whatever they want to do politically. I just don't feel like this falls under a political thing anymore. Like this is
Mhm.
just accepting other people. Like
Yeah, facts.
people like people from the same sex. It's not you, deal with it.
But
Like
yeah,
it's
facts.
okay. Like it's not that personal. Like it's not that personal, Karen. You don't need to have
Thank
an
you.
opinion about my life. Thanks.
Yeah, I never understood like people are have so much hate towards the community, but like the community is filled with nothing but love, and that's confusing to me because I don't want to bring religion into it, but it is like the people who are so loyal to their beliefs that refuse
Most of
to
the time.
yeah, like refuse to adjust it in order like, but it's like how can you pick and choose what's worse than another thing? You know what I'm saying? Like I always see stuff like that, and then I was like, man, I know damn well there's some worse shit going on in y'all's family, but I don't even want to say it.
But
But
I'm a child of God and I'm not going to talk about that.
yes,
Because it's
but
true. Like
yeah,
there is way worse shit happening. Like actually life threatening things, even sometimes,
Hmm.
that the fact that I like girls is not that important, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's like, why
it's
you
a,
worry about what I do?
like okay, let's not take away from the fact that it is an important, you know, thing to go through and to acknowledge that, like, oh my God, do I like people from the same sex or do I not? Like,
Hmm.
it's, you know, do it on your own time and there is importance to it. But just because I like girls, it doesn't mean that it takes away from like the person that I am. And I heard you say this in an interview that you were like, yes, I'm Latina. Yes, I'm gay, right?
Hmm.
But no, I'm not just a Latina gay music performer. Like, you know, like
Yeah,
you're way
facts,
more than that. And I'm way more than that, right? Like,
facts.
it's just, why do you just want to label me with one thing and just assume like, oh, because she likes girls, you know, like,
Yeah,
no, you know, it's June, it's Pride Month. Let's be gay. Let's enjoy
facts.
it. Let's go out
Yes.
and make out. No, okay, let's not do that. But let's not do that. But yeah, and just be yourself, you know? And how do you feel about people in the music industry? Because the music industry can be kind of rough, can be kind
Oh
of
yeah.
mean, can be kind of like, first of all, because you're a gay, because you're a girl, just
Mhm.
period. Like, just because you are a woman, it's just a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Second, you're in the community. So tell us about that.
I mean, as of lately, I haven't seen too many challenges, but I think what has kind of been something I have been noticing is people are very quick to throw the label around. Like, this XB Valentine, LGBT artist. I'm like, yeah, like I am, but like you ain't going over here like this person, a straight artist. Like, why does
Yep.
my sexual orientation matter? Like, we're not out here pointing out who's straight all the time. Like, I don't get it. And I think that's really like the part. But I also get it when it's used for marketing tactics, but it can be hard with what the intention is when it depending who's doing the marketing. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's me, I know I'm just catering to my LGBT people, but you got like this, like right now it's just me and my manager, right? I don't have like a PR team, I don't have none of that. But let's just say,
It's
I did
you.
work.
You're
Yeah,
your own PR team.
yeah, exactly. And then like let's just say I started working with a PR team, right? That's like, okay, we want you to do this for Pride Month. We want to throw on a rainbow shirt, throw on a rainbow beanie. We want you to. If I'm like, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that because at that point it's with a different intention, not so much because I'm prideful. That's like at that point it becomes like some kind of weird tactic to like market to them, and it doesn't come off genuine. I'm trying to just give them a voice. Like, there's not many of us really being put in the spotlight and being allowed to talk about these things. So when I'm given the chance, I want to, but I don't want them to just make me that. Like I want to be able to talk about everything about what it means like to be a woman, to be Mexican, to be LGBT, all of it. But again, I'm not only those things. Like at the end of the day,
Damn,
I'm
and you
a
got three of the big ones too.
yeah, and I always call myself a triple minority because it's like that's what I am. Like,
I was gonna say, but I didn't want to go there. I was
now you're
like,
good.
I would say, cause same, cause
Hmm.
same.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
I
facts.
am also Mexican. I am also part of the community,
And you're a woman.
and I'm also a woman. So
Yep,
I
we in
felt
the
that.
same boat.
I felt that.
Yep,
Not of the same,
right
but
there
we
with
are.
you.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Yeah, I guess we are. But just starts crying. Like,
Yeah,
I guess I do have it kind of hard, right?
the struggle is real.
I mean, I I don't know. I really want to say that it's more about being accepting and more about just people being able to see that it's not something that limits you, because I feel like a lot of
Mhm.
people think that, oh my God, it's because if I, you know, come out, like maybe I'm not going to have like certain followers, or maybe people are going to look at me
Mhm.
weird, or maybe, you know, like stuff like this. And
Yeah.
I remember you mentioning that you came out not super long ago.
Yep.
And um do you want to talk very briefly about how you did come out, or if it even was a thing for you?
I
Like,
mean, yeah, it was. So it was kind of funny. So I obviously I didn't come out till I was 21. I got in my first female relationship when I was 21, and an interesting experience for me. It wasn't the best experience, I will say, you know.
It was your first
But
experience too, so
yeah, it was a lot to learn, and there's a lot of damage done. Not on my end, but I had to
it's
experience that.
the yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those experiences. But
Okay.
because of, you know, and it was very new to me, so obviously like it was an adjustment, and I wasn't this person's first female relationship, so it was very different for the both of us.
Yeah.
But
It was
you know what
off.
I
It was off.
yeah,
It was off.
yeah, we were just not, you know, she was just not for me. That was not my person. But, you know, it was a learning experience that I needed. So I
Mhm.
definitely gained a lot from it as far as learning something from it. But, you know,
As long as
she
trauma, I mean, experiences.
what's the difference? Same shit at this point. Oh man.
No
Yeah, but
shade. No
no.
shade to homegirl. I don't know who it was, but no shade to her.
We ain't got no love either though.
No, just neutral, you know, just whatever.
uh,
A stepping stone.
yeah, facts. Let's just like
A
that. Look at
stepping
it.
stone.
Yeah, but you know, I did keep that a secret. That whole relationship was secret for like the first 6 months. I was only with her for 11 months, almost a year. And you know, 6 months of not really telling anybody about this relationship was not easy. You know, she did live like 2.5 hours away, so I was having to drive back and forth. You know, and having to keep that a secret. Like, what do you tell your parents? Like, so it was hard. You know, I was having to lie and not be honest, and obviously like
That takes a
we
toll.
yeah, and then at some point we kind of had this agreement. We wanted to like move in together, right? We were fucking typical
Lesbians.
lesbians, and and but I'm like, how do I
That's funny as
tell?
shit.
Yeah, it was bad. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna
Feeding
tell
into
my
the stereotype,
parents,
thanks.
dude. Literally, sorry, I had to, but
And then?
but you know, I finally tell my parents, like, I'm thinking about moving. I've been living with my parents, but it's that whole time I had never moved out. So, I'm telling them I think I need to move forward. And it was ironic because I was going out there a lot for music purposes, like already before I signed with my manager. I was being represented by someone else that lived out there. So I was having to make the trips regardless. So they were like, yeah, we're with it. And I finally told my sister the truth, my oldest sister, because I needed her to co sign for me.
So none of your siblings knew either.
Except for my little brother. Me and my little brother both came out to each other on the same day. Yeah, I will never forget that. He texted me from his bedroom. The last thing in the message said, "If you still love me, can you come in the room and give me a hug?"
Oh,
I will never forget that. I remember like I had
I
like
wanna give him
tears
a
in my
hug. I wanna give him a hug.
and I walked in there and I gave him a hug and I was like, well, "You want to know something kind of funny?" I was like, "I'm gay too." I was like, "Well,
You should
we."
have just replied to the message. Oh my god, same. Literally me crying. Look at this.
Aw.
Aw. It's just the
Yeah,
little
I know.
brothers.
Yeah,
Like,
I love him. Me and my
it
little
always
brother are
gets
super
me.
tight. Yeah, me and him are inseparable. We're also 7 years apart, but me and him have been literally. He's my cheek lid. Like,
7 years, so he's 20,
yeah,
19.
19. I was like, whoa, he's 20. Yeah, he's 19. He currently goes
You were
to
like
UT. I was like, damn, I feel old. I was like, hold on, we're 7 years apart. That doesn't make sense,
Sorry, I
but I
forgot I
promise
was
it.
27, not you.
Yeah, but so yeah, he came out to me and
Aw.
then I came out to him and then so my sister knows about this girl the whole time, right? And she's like, I'm down to co-sign, whatever. So she finally like goes through with this with me, and I think she kind of starts feeling a little guilty, like we're all lying, or at least she's helping me not because I told her I would tell my parents eventually, but I think I was just getting too far in deep with the commitment of an apartment. And I do not blame my sister at all. Like if anything, she helped me dodge a bullet. Let me just say that. Like I'm thankful.
Hey,
I'm
everything happens for a reason.
that is facts. So she actually did end up telling my parents about me and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie, like the whole experience was terrifying because I did grow up being super tomboy and my mom wasn't always the most comforting about it. She was very like verbal about, oh, go put on this or do this with your hair or throw on a dress or dress more like a girl. Sometimes she'd buy me stuff that she knew I didn't like and it was super girly but
I
that's it
felt that
just
on a
come
personal level.
and it's like I understood, like I never to this day I don't hold my mom against it. Like I love her to death and I'm just grateful to have the parents I do. But I will never forget walking into the house and my parents were both in the living room. My dad's a very stern. Like the way he speaks is very stern, but he's a sweetheart, but very stern. And
Is
I
he
just remember
acaso de rancho?
he's from Salamanca, Guanajuato. So he kind of grew up in like I don't know, it's kind of rancho. Like he did grow up in the rancho, but it's a small little town there too.
Yeah.
But that's
I
how
mean,
my
he's a
grandpa was.
Mexican dad. Like,
Yeah, and he's hardworking, so he just and he kind of like he has like he's a manager at the restaurant, so he's very like used to bossing people
yeah.
around.
Yep.
He's good at that. He's good, he's
Yep.
very demanding, but he's a smart man. I always listen to what he says. But I walk in and my parents are like, "Can we talk to you?" And they're like, "We need to ask you something." My dad does all the talking usually, and my dad was like, "Is it true that you're dating a girl?" And I was like, "Stay quiet." And I just remember my body was shaking, and I was just like, "Man, like depending what I say next can like very easily change my entire life." And I was just scared, and I was just like, I just remember saying yes, and my mom gets up, walks out, and goes outside, and I just kind of broke down in that moment because I was like, like damn. I think I cared more than what my mom was going to think about me, just because
Yeah.
I kind of was expecting her to take it the hardest. And maybe like I'm just sitting there crying. My dad's just like, "Don't worry, we're gonna figure this out." Like, and then he brings up therapy. He's like, "We gotta put you in therapy, whatever we gotta do. Like, we're gonna figure this out." And I'm just thinking, like, man, like this really sucks. Like, this is not the reaction I was expecting, but I'm glad it's still not as bad as I was expecting. You know what I'm saying? And my mom walks back in and it just gives me a hug. And she's like, "I love you." She's like, "You're always gonna be my baby girl." And I'm just like, I started crying. I was just like, oh shit.
Oh,
Like
I'm gonna cry. The fuck?
it was a lot. And I think, it took them a while to adjust, but they never made me feel like
You
I
weren't
was
welcome.
this, yeah, like they were very like, maybe you do want to talk to somebody. And I'm grateful because at some point they stopped doing that. They're like, you know
Yeah.
what, like we're sorry for like sorry making you
Cries.
cry. We go through all the
He's done
motions.
crying. I know. No, but I love it because I usually make people cry on the podcast. So you're making me cry.
This is
So it's the other way
time for
around.
a change. Yeah, but they adjusted, and they absolutely adore my girlfriend. We've been together for 4 years, so they absolutely love her, and
Mm.
they see that I'm happy, and I've
Yeah.
definitely have changed a lot since I've came out, and since I've been in a healthier relationship too. Like they all they have ever wanted was for me to be happy because they've seen me struggle since I was a kid. Since I was 15 years old, I've been putting them through it. Like I wasn't the easiest to deal with
Child.
emotionally. Like,
The
I
easiest child.
had, yeah, I might have not been rebellious, but man, I did not know how to handle my emotions. So they seen me unhappy. I was depressed for a really long time. So for them to just see me the way I am now, like that's all they want is this version of me. Like they're
I
just
mean,
grateful.
glowing because you have a certain glow to yourself that
Thank you.
obviously I didn't know you when you were 15 and going through it, but you have a certain glow of like just happiness, just like I know where I'm going, like I know what I want, I know, and parents, I want to believe, just kind of want that for you.
Yeah,
Some parents will get over themselves and like your parents be great at
yeah,
receiving certain uncomfortable situation, which it's not like you planned it. Like you didn't plan absolutely anything of that interaction. And
yeah,
you also didn't plan to like girls. Like it's something that
yeah. It just happened.
is truly out of our control.
Yeah,
I just, last part, thank you so much for sharing that very special story because that's like a personal XB situation. So I appreciate the fact that you were able to share that with us. And I want to share a little, I guess, reference that I heard from another podcast where this man is asking this guy that he is not very comfortable with LGBTQ community, right?
Mhm.
So he talks about how people back in the day used to not like left-handed people. Are you right-handed or
Interesting.
left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay. So left-handed people, especially in our religion, they were considered demonic. Like I know people,
That's
like
interesting.
I know people that their grandmothers would tie their left arm behind their body and force them to write with their right hand. And now they are right handed.
That's
But
insane.
okay, as a child, did you choose to be right handed?
No, I think it just happened.
It just kind of happened, right? Like, okay, did
Yeah,
you
it just
choose to like girls? No, it just kind of happened.
no.
And in this specific interview, they start talking about how back in the day, being left-handed was something that was not accepted. Like, it was just like, no, be
Yeah.
right-handed. And now people are like, oh, you're left-handed? Okay, so like why is that something like people don't put it on their bio like, oh, XB right-handed, like it's not that relevant anymore because it's just
Yeah.
like okay, you're right-handed, period, like
Yeah.
whatever.
Facts.
And they asked this person, they were like, what are you? He's like, oh, I'm right-handed. He's like, but that's like not a big deal, like people are just left-handed or right-handed, like it's not a big deal. And he's like, exactly, people are gay. It's not a big deal. Like they like
I
girls,
love
they
that.
like
Yeah.
guys. It's not a big deal. Cause he was like, okay, let me see you write with your left hand. And then he's like, no, like I don't like writing with my left hand. Okay, bitch, I don't like guys. Like it just doesn't, it's just, like it's as
Facts.
simple as let me write with my left hand and be gay and you do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like do whatever you feel like you got to do. And at the end of that interview, he was like, okay, like, I guess, like, it kind of makes sense now. And I thought that was just something very nice to be able to like talk about now, obviously during Pride Month, because it is still June. So we are still going through all the celebrations and, like the events and being accepted for the person that you are. And you emphasize about being yourself a lot.
Mhm.
Besides, whenever you were 15, was there ever a situation where you wish you were yourself, but you just felt like you couldn't be yourself?
I mean, honestly, I think that was a majority of between the age of 15 till 21. I think I was constantly battling and trying to figure myself out because I don't think there was ever a genuine moment where I looked myself in the mirror and I knew who I was. And that was years. Like I was
In the making.
confused. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know who I'm looking at right now. Like I genuinely don't know internally like who I am because I wasn't living my truth. I was pushing who I really was so far down that I was having such a hard time like pulling that person out. So when I finally did, like I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, I am that bitch. You know what I'm saying? And that like, man, like I didn't
Per.
have that. I didn't have that for a long time. And I'm just trying to embrace it to the fullest now. And that's why I just try to preach it as much as I can because I know what it's like not to be yourself. And I know how that can affect you. Like that is such a like it's the worst thing you can do to yourself as a human being because it damages everything internally. Like it really brings your self-esteem down because
Yep.
you're looking at everybody else and they're like you feel like why can't I feel like this person or why is it that this person's always like this or they feel good and like why can't I feel that way? But people don't realize it starts within. Like the only
Hmm.
way you're gonna like be good in the outside is if you're good in the inside. And
Yeah,
when
you
you're
have
not
to love yourself.
facts, yeah, that's the only way. Like I always tell people, anytime someone's like complaining to me about something, their relationships, whatever, I don't really care what it might be. I was like, do you love yourself? Like honestly, can you tell me right now that you love yourself? And if you tell me no, you have no business trying to love nobody else. Like straight up, like you cannot give love to someone else if you're not giving yourself love. Because doing that, it's like, how are you gonna give something to someone that you don't even know what it is yourself? Like that doesn't make any sense. And then you're gonna pour into someone else's cup, and yours is always gonna be empty. And then you're gonna wonder why this person feels good because you're filling up their cup. Who's filling up yours? You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
it's just so important to like love yourself, get to know yourself, be self aware. Because if you're not self aware, then you're not aware of the damage you can cause. Like I've been there.
Exactly.
I am no saint. Like I have hurt people. You know what I'm saying? Like I share, there's things I've done that I'm not proud of, but I had to like go through those experiences to learn more about myself, who I am, what can I do different the next time around, or why did I even do this in the first place? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like getting familiar with that and understanding it is going to make sure that it never happens again. So
We
it's
always
like,
say, your trauma is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal from it.
yep. And therapists will tell you
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
I'll
like,
tell you
and
straight
and
up.
and honestly, whenever you were talking about, being in therapy at a very young age, I think that's an awesome situation. Like,
Yeah.
obviously not what took you to therapy, but
Mhm.
being able to be like, "Okay, you know what? I need to reach out to a professional." Like, especially coming from the type of household that, we are from, which is like
Yeah.
Mexican household. It's always, been seen a little bit of like, oh, it's because she has a lot of feelings, like it's a little bit on the weaker side. Like
Yeah.
that's
Facts.
that's that's what a lot of people in our culture will see it as. And I've actually talked to a lot of people on the podcast before where I'm like, therapy, and they're like, nah, it's not for me. I deal with my
Yeah.
emotions elsewhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, drinking, yeah,
Like,
been
it's
there.
not dealing,
Don't do
it's
that.
drowning it. Yeah, there's a
Yep,
difference
it's
between dealing and drowning.
yep. Yeah,
People
that's actually a really good one. Wow. I think a lot of my alcoholic friends are gonna feel that one.
Hey, but we're all still learning. Like, I ain't perfect. Like, I have moments where I forget the things I learned. I'm like, like I shouldn't, and it's just we're all just learning, but it's just what you do with the things you learn. We
Yep.
gotta apply that to our everyday thing if we want to grow and be better than we were yesterday. Like, we gotta take it and then just go with it. You know what I mean? So, but
And be
it's
better.
funny. Yeah, facts. Like, that's all we can do, and people don't realize, like, when we're good, it helps the way we treat people around us, and that's why I feel like there's so many shitty people in the world because we're just not nice enough to each other. Like,
Yep. I
too
think
many
I think it
people.
starts with not being nice enough to you. Like, I've done
Yes.
customer service for a very, very long time, which is
Mhm.
why it's so easy for me to like talk to people that I don't know. So like that's where my, I guess, like being an extrovert came from.
Mhm.
And in customer service, you always encounter people that are like fucking mean for no fucking reason. Like,
Facts.
bro, chill. Like, it's Tuesday
Mhm.
morning. Why are you being so aggressive right now? Like, it's
Oh, yep.
okay, relax.
Yeah.
And I never took it personally. Like, I swear, like they've told me so much things over the phone, like what I'm gonna die from, and like, like weird ass
Oh, it'd
shit.
be
Like,
crazy. Yeah.
why y'all be talking to fucking random people you don't know like this? Like, this is very weird. And most of the time it's a personal situation.
Mhm.
Like, most of the
No,
time,
facts.
it has to do with the fact that I'm having a bad day, so I want you to have a bad day. So I'm gonna talk shit to you. Or I don't think I can do certain things, so I am frustrated, and that's why I'm frustrated with you now. Like, at the end of the day, it's way more personal than it is like against me. So
Yeah,
I would always
facts.
be like, I hope you have a nice day and I hope you feel better, right? And that would piss them off even more. They'd be like, what the fuck do you mean? I feel great. I'm like,
Yeah, kill 'em with
goodbye.
kindness.
Like, yeah, like I'm not gonna stay here and, hear all of these slander words that are not really doing anything to me. But there's no point for me to stay here and hear it because I'm not gonna make a sale. I'm not gonna, like, just okay, goodbye. Like, just
Yeah,
hang up.
facts.
That's it. And I think it even comes with like the hater situation. Like,
Mhm.
a big part is because they wish they were you. They wish that they had the discipline you had. They wish that they had the talent you had. They wish that they were in your situation, or they were in your situation and they fucked it up. But that's for another
That's a
story.
true. Nah, I mean, I
Okay,
totally
XB.
get it.
Well, we are going to start wrapping this up because we've been on here for like a good hour and a half. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, damn.
I
So
love how you
much
didn't even
food.
notice. You're like, what? Really?
I was, like, trying to look for it. I was like, "Where are you looking at?" Damn, it's all little.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've been here for a while. Thank you so much for being on. That's just my opinion.
Of course, thank
I
you.
feel like you were a little skeptical at first. You were like, I don't know how this is going to
Well,
go.
I was just like, because usually people message me from their podcast page. So when I clicked on your page, I was like, I don't see a podcast on here. Like, I was like, like, she trolling me. What's
Damn,
happening?
I didn't even share my username. What a
No.
loser.
So I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. So that's how I was. I don't know. Like, is
Oh,
this
but
the
I had it on my
person?
profile. But I had it on my profile.
Ah, see,
Because
I didn't go that
I
far.
was like, then how did you follow? That's just my opinion. Because you followed TJMO too. So, and I
Oh,
was
I
like,
did.
how'd you? Yeah. So I was like, how'd you?
Oh,
But
okay.
I did have it on my profile. That's true.
Oh, okay,
That's
good.
true.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm trying to put it all together, but I think I just remember clicking on your
Yep.
profiles. And there's nothing podcast related, but I was like, yeah, let's do
You're like,
it.
okay, I guess.
Now, but this was dope. I'm glad that we got to do this. It was fun.
That's super funny. It's good. I mean, it's because I couldn't just go log into mine and then reply to your story, and I didn't even follow you with my podcast. I was like, I'm gonna reply, fuck it. And I just replied. I just fucking replied. But I did see you like, yeah, we can do it. And I was like, I think she's skeptical. I was like, I don't think she knows what she's getting into.
Nah, but it was dope.
Where can people find you?
Everything is the exact same. I like to make it easy. So, as you can see on the screen, wait, this is the opposite.
There,
Right here.
right there.
It's xBValentine. It's all together. There's no spaces in my name. And then, you can just literally Google me, my Spotify, my Apple Music, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All of it is the exact same.
All of the above.
xBValentine.
Which ones
Yep.
do you use the most? Where can people see updates of tour dates and events that you're going to be at, or any music or stuff like that? Which one do you use the most?
Instagram for sure. That's
Okay.
the one that I'm usually updating pretty regularly. Usually post, several times a week.
That's where Smooth makes you post every day. So catch me on the IG. Catch me on IG.
Thanks.
Okay, well, it was a very, very great time. Thank you so much for being on this episode. I think you've been my longest episode in a while.
Hey.
So great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I almost forget that we're like interviewing. It just feels like we're FaceTiming. So
Yeah, that's the whole point of it, honestly. Like, real word, just I like people to be able to feel comfortable and like just have a conversation with a friend. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about you because that's the whole point of the episode. We want to know you, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be super like, oh yeah, now like we're chit chatting, we're having a good time, and I like to do that on the pod. So thank you so much for coming on and being my guest today, and hopefully we can see you again. We should totally do like a mental health episode. I think that would be really interesting.
That'd be
I think
dope.
that'd be really interesting.
I'd be down. That'd be
okay.
fine.
Okay. Well, everyone, tune in again for the second episode. Make sure to follow XB everywhere that she mentioned, but mostly on Instagram. And make sure you're streaming that motherfucking album because, we're making it platinum. Period.
Yo, that's the goal.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a very nice day, XB. And thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you.